Sarah Chen stood in the massive chamber of the Galactic Council, watching as the final votes appeared on the giant screen above her head. The numbers glowed bright blue against the dark space. 847 civilizations voting yes, 12 voting no, and 3 choosing not to vote at all. The decision was final. Earth would be cut off from the galaxy forever. Around her, hundreds of alien delegates celebrated. The Zelthani waved their long tentacles in the air, making happy clicking sounds. The crystal-like Vorthak sang high musical notes that hurt human ears. Even the bird-like Kethrani flapped their wings with joy. They were all happy that the dangerous humans would finally be locked away from civilized space. Sarah kept her face, calm, and showed no emotion. She had been Earth's ambassador to the galaxy for 5 years. She had watched these aliens grow more and more afraid of humanity as the years passed. They called humans too aggressive and unpredictable. They said humanity refused to follow the proper rules that kept the galaxy peaceful. The Zelthani delegate who had led the vote against Earth slithered closer to Sarah. His skin was purple and wet, and his 4 eyes looked at her with what humans might call satisfaction. "Ambassador Chen," he said in his bubbling voice, "perhaps now your species will learn to behave like civilized beings. When you are alone with no one to trade with, no one to talk to, you will understand the importance of following galactics." Sarah nodded politely. "I understand perfectly," she said. "Thank you for making your position so clear." The alien seemed pleased by her calm response. He probably expected her to be angry or to beg for mercy. Instead, Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device that looked like a simple communication pad. She pressed a button and spoke quietly into it. "Phase 1 is complete," she said. They took the bait perfectly. The Zelthani delegate's eyes widened. "What did you just say?" But Sarah was already walking toward the exit. Behind her, she could hear confused alien voices asking what she meant. Some of them were starting to sound worried instead of happy. On Earth, President Martinez received Sarah's message in his office deep below the surface in Colorado. The room was filled with military officers and scientists, all of them waiting for this exact moment. When the message came through, Martinez smiled for the first time in months. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to the room, "the galaxy has just made the biggest mistake in its history." General Torres, the head of Earth's military, stood up from his chair. "All units are standing by, Mr. President. Project Diaspora is ready." To begin, Dr. Amanda Foster, Earth's top scientist, checked her tablet. "The colony ships have been waiting in the asteroid belt for 2 years. We can launch within hours." Martinez looked around the room at the faces of Earth's best and brightest. 3 years ago, when it became clear that the galaxy would never accept humanity as equals, they had begun to plan, not for surrender, not for begging, but for something much more ambitious. "The galaxy thinks exile is a punishment," Martinez said. "They don't understand that we've been preparing for this day. They gave us exactly what we needed." On the space station above Earth, Admiral Jackson received the same message. He had been waiting in the command center of humanity's largest hidden military base. The station looked like a simple research facility from the outside, but inside it contained enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. "All ships, this is command," Jackson spoke into his communicator. "The vote is complete. Begin Phase 2 immediately." Across the solar system, things that had looked like peaceful human settlements suddenly came to life. The moon base revealed massive gun batteries that had been hidden under fake research domes. Mars, which the galaxy thought was just a struggling farming colony, opened huge doors to show factories that had been building warships in secret. The asteroid belt erupted with activity as hundreds of ships that had been hiding among the rocks powered up their engines. These were not the sleek, beautiful vessels that other species built. Human ships were ugly and practical, covered in armor and weapons, built for war and exploration rather than comfort. But the most important ships were the colony vessels, massive ark ships that could carry entire cities' worth of people, along with everything they needed to build new homes. The galaxy expected humans to sit on Earth and slowly die from loneliness and lack of trade. Instead, humanity was about to spread across the stars faster than any species in galactic history. Sarah Chen made it back to her small ship without any of the aliens trying to stop her. They were too busy arguing among themselves about what her message might have meant. As her ship left the council station and headed toward Earth, she allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy had made many mistakes about humanity, but the biggest one was thinking that exile was a punishment. Humans had spent their entire history being forced to move to new places, to adapt to harsh conditions, to survive when others said it was impossible. The galaxy had just given humanity permission to do what they did best. Her ship's communication system beeped, and Martinez's voice came through from Earth. "Sarah, how did they react?" "Exactly as we predicted, Mr. President. They're so happy to be rid of us that they're not asking the right questions. Such as why Earth agreed to this so easily, why we didn't fight harder against the vote, why our military seemed so small and weak when they investigated us." Martinez laughed. "Because they never bothered to look beyond our main worlds. They never sent scouts to the outer systems. They never wondered why our research stations needed so much power." Sarah watched Earth grow larger through her ship's windows. Soon she would be home, and then humanity's real work would begin. The galaxy thought they were locking humans away from civilization. Instead, they had just freed humanity to build their own civilization, one that would be stronger and more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The colony ships were already moving, heading toward star systems that the galaxy had marked as impossible or uninhabitable. These were worlds with too much radiation, or too much gravity, or too little heat. Perfect worlds for humans, who had learned to survive anywhere. As Sarah's ship entered Earth's atmosphere, she looked down at the lights of the cities below. In a few months, many of those people would be living on worlds that the galaxy thought were too dangerous for life. They would be building new homes in places where no other species could survive. The galaxy had voted to exile Earth, thinking they were protecting themselves from humanity's dangerous nature. Instead, they had just given humanity the greatest gift possible, complete freedom to become everything they were capable of being, without anyone to tell them no. The vote was over. The exile had begun. And humanity couldn't wait to show the galaxy what a species could accomplish when they were finally free to be themselves. 6 months after the galaxy's vote, the first wave of human colony ships left the solar system. The aliens watching from their comfortable worlds expected to see desperate refugees fleeing to whatever safe planets they could find. Instead, they saw something that made no sense at all. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the ship called Indomitable, staring at the navigation display with excitement rather than fear. Her destination was a star system that the Galactic Council had marked with a red warning label. Extreme radiation hazard, no life possible. "Captain," her science officer called out, "we're getting close to the radiation belt around Kepler 442. Should I plot a course around it?" Elena smiled. "Negative. Take us straight through the middle of it. That's where we're going to build our new home." The crew didn't question her order. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing exactly what they were signing up for. While other species built their colonies on nice, safe planets with gentle weather and friendly environments, humans were heading for the places that would kill anyone else. On Earth, Dr. James Okafor watched the colony ship reports coming in from across the galaxy. His team had spent years studying the uninhabitable worlds that other species avoided. What they found was that these dangerous places were actually perfect for humanity. The high radiation environment on Kepler 442 will force rapid adaptation. He explained to President Martinez during their weekly briefing. Within 2 generations, humans living there will develop natural radiation resistance. The heavy gravity on Proxima b will make humans stronger and faster. The extreme cold on the rogue planets will teach us to survive, without depending on stars, for energy. Martinez nodded as he looked at the star map showing human colony ships spreading out in every direction. The galaxy thinks we're running away to die in horrible places. They don't understand that horrible places make humans stronger. The first reports from the colony ships proved this point. The crew of the Indomitable landed on Kepler 442b, despite radiation levels that would cook most alien species in minutes. Within weeks, They were not just surviving, but thriving. The same radiation that made the planet uninhabitable powered their new energy systems and helped their food crops grow faster than anything seen on Earth. Captain Maria Santos landed her ship on Proxima Centauri b, a world that was burning hot on one side and freezing cold on the other. The Galactic Council called it completely unsuitable for life. Maria called it perfect for manufacturing. Her colonists built their first city right on the line between the hot and cold sides of the planet. They used the extreme temperature difference to generate massive amounts of power. Giant solar collectors on the hot side gathered energy, while huge computer systems on the cold side processed data faster than any machine in the galaxy. "Command, this is Santos," Maria reported back to Earth. "Proxima Base is operational. We're already producing more power than the entire Zelthani homeworld. The extreme conditions aren't killing us. They're making us better." Meanwhile, Captain David Park took his ship to a rogue planet drifting alone between the stars. This world had no sun at all, just endless cold and darkness. The galaxy's scientists said nothing could live there. Park's team proved them wrong in just 3 months. "We don't need a star," Park reported to Earth. "We're learning to pull energy directly from space itself. The quantum vacuum gives us all the power we need, and the cold helps our computers work perfectly. This isn't Exile. This is evolution." Back in the solar system, Earth itself was changing too. The moon revealed massive construction projects that had been hidden under fake mining operations. Huge defensive platforms rose from lunar craters, armed with weapons based on technology learned from the colony worlds. Mars opened giant doors that had been disguised as natural rock formations. Inside were shipyards building vessels unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These new human ships were designed to work in the extreme conditions where humanity was now living. They could fly through radiation storms, operate in crushing gravity, and survive in the cold of deep space. Admiral Jackson inspected the first of these new warships as it left the Martian shipyards. The vessel looked nothing like the pretty, smooth ships that other species built. It was covered in armor plating and bristled with weapons. Most importantly, it was built to take humans to places where no other species could survive. "The galaxy exiled us because they were afraid of how we might change their perfect civilization," Jackson told his officers. "They never stopped to think about how we might change when we're free to be ourselves." The asteroid belt became humanity's main industrial center. Hidden factories that had pretended to be mining stations revealed their true purpose. They were building not just ships, but entire mobile cities that could travel from star to star, carrying human civilization to every corner of the galaxy. Dr. Foster coordinated the scientific efforts from her laboratory on Ceres. The data coming in from the colony worlds was beyond her wildest dreams. Humans living in extreme conditions were developing abilities that seemed impossible. "The children born on Kepler 442 can see radiation patterns with their naked eyes," she reported to the Earth government. "The families on Proxima b are developing natural resistance to temperature extremes. The colonists on the rogue planets are learning to sense gravitational fields directly." "You're saying the extreme environments are changing us?" Martinez asked. "I'm saying they're revealing what we always were," Foster replied. "Humans are the most adaptable species in the galaxy. Other races chose to make their environments comfortable. We're choosing to make ourselves stronger." As the first year of Exile ended, humanity had established colonies in over 50 star systems that the galaxy considered impossible to live in. Each world taught humans something new about survival, about adaptation, about pushing the limits of what life could endure. The galaxy's intelligence services began picking up strange reports from their border systems, energy readings from dead star systems, massive construction projects in places where nothing should be able to live, radio signals coming from regions of space where no civilized species had ever gone. Some of the younger alien species began asking uncomfortable questions. If humans could survive in places like that, what did it mean for the rest of the galaxy? If Exile made humans stronger instead of weaker, had the Galactic Council made a terrible mistake? But the older, more established species dismissed these concerns. Humans were barbarians, they said. They might survive for a while in these horrible places, but eventually they would die out or become so changed that they would no longer be a threat to civilized society. Elena Vasquez, now governor of the thriving colony on Kepler 442b, would have laughed at that assessment. Her people weren't dying out. They were becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. They were becoming human beings who were truly free to reach their full potential. Earth Control, this is Kepler Colony, she transmitted across the void. Population is now over 100,000 and growing fast. Industrial output exceeds projections by 300%. Radiation adaptation is proceeding ahead of schedule. She paused, looking out at the city her people had built in conditions that would kill most of the galaxy's civilized species. Tell the council they can stop worrying about us, she added. We're not coming back to beg for readmission. We're building something better out here. Something they gave us the freedom to create when they voted to let us go. 5 years had passed since the galaxy voted to exile Earth. In the comfortable core worlds where the major species lived, most had forgotten about humanity entirely. The Zelthani were busy with their trade negotiations, the Vorthak were focused on their crystal garden projects, and the Kethrani were exploring new philosophical ideas about peaceful existence. None of them bothered to check what was happening in the uninhabitable regions where they had assumed humanity would slowly die. Now, if they had looked, they would have been terrified. Dr. James Okafor stood in his laboratory on the rogue planet Nemesis, watching his latest experiment with wonder. The planet had no star, no warmth, nothing but cold darkness drifting through space. 5 years ago, the galaxy's best scientists would have said this world was completely lifeless. Now it housed over 2 million humans and had become one of the most important research centers in known space. Computer, show me the energy output readings from Test Chamber 7, James said. The holographic display lit up with numbers that would have shocked every alien scientist in the galaxy. James had finally cracked the secret of zero-point energy, pulling power directly from empty space itself. The breakthrough came from studying how to survive on a world with no star. When humans couldn't rely on solar power, they learned to find energy everywhere else. Dr. Okafor, his assistant, called from across the lab. We're getting a quantum communication from the Kepler colonies. They want to know if our new power systems can work in high radiation environments. James smiled. The different human colonies were sharing discoveries and helping each other improve. Kepler 442b had taught humanity how to thrive in deadly radiation. Proxima b had shown them how to use extreme temperatures for industrial power. The rogue planets were revealing the deepest secrets of energy and physics. Tell them yes, James replied. In fact, the radiation will make the zero-point systems work even better. The high-energy environment will increase our power output by at least 40%. On Kepler 442b, Elena Vasquez watched her daughter play in the radiation-soaked gardens outside their city. Little Anna was part of the first generation of humans born in the extreme environment. She could see patterns of radiation flowing through the air like other children might see butterflies. Her body processed the deadly energy as easily as a normal human processed sunlight. "Mama, look!" Anna called out, pointing at invisible streams of energy flowing from the planet's core. "The pretty lights are dancing today." Elena marveled at what her daughter could do. The child was perfectly healthy and happy, but she had abilities that no baseline human possessed. The extreme environment hadn't harmed the new generation. It had made them into something wonderful and new. The communication console in Elena's office beeped with an incoming message from Earth. President Martinez's face appeared on the screen, and Elena could see the excitement in his eyes. "Elena, how many people can Kepler colony support now?" Martinez asked. "Current population is 800,000, Mr. President. We could easily handle 2 million if you want to send more colonists. The radiation gardens are producing food faster than we can eat it, and the energy systems are running at only 30% capacity." Martinez nodded. "That's what I hope to hear. We're getting reports that some of the galaxy's scout ships are starting to investigate the outer regions. It won't be long before they discover what we've built out there. Let them come," Elena said confidently. "Any ship they send will be designed for safe, comfortable environments, They won't be able to handle the radiation levels here. We'll see them long before they can get close enough to be a threat. On Proxima Centauri b, Captain Maria Santos had transformed her colony into an industrial powerhouse that exceeded anything in the galactic core. The extreme heat and cold of her world powered manufacturing systems that could produce starships, weapons, and technology at incredible speed. Her latest project was a new class of human warship designed specifically for the extreme environments, where humanity now lived. The vessels could operate in radiation fields that would fry normal electronics, survive in gravitational forces that would crush regular hulls, and fight battles in conditions where other species couldn't even exist. "Commander Torres," Maria called to her chief engineer, "how are the weapons tests going?" "Beyond all expectations, Captain. The radiation-powered beam systems are 3 times more effective than anything the galaxy has seen. The gravity manipulation drives can move our ships in ways that will seem impossible to other species. Most importantly, our armor can handle conditions that would destroy their ships in seconds." Maria looked out at the massive shipyard her people had built on the border between the burning and frozen sides of their world. Dozens of the new warships were under construction, each one more advanced than the best vessels in the galactic fleet. But the real breakthrough was happening in the minds of the humans themselves. Living in extreme conditions had pushed human intelligence and creativity to new levels. Problems that would take galactic committees years to solve were being figured out by human children as simple puzzles. Dr. Amanda Foster, now director of Human Scientific Research, compiled the reports from all the colonies with amazement. On every world, in every extreme environment, humanity was not just surviving but evolving. "Mr. President," she reported to Martinez during their monthly briefing, "we're seeing developments that go beyond anything we expected. The colonies aren't just adapting to their environments, they're mastering them." "Give me specifics," Martinez replied. "The Kepler colonies have developed natural radiation immunity and can see energy patterns directly. The Proxima settlements have enhanced temperature tolerance and improved manufacturing abilities. The rogue planet colonies have learned to manipulate gravity and extract energy from quantum vacuum." Foster paused, looking at her data with something approaching awe. "But the most important change is psychological. Humans raised in these extreme conditions don't see impossible the same way we do. They look at problems that would terrify the galaxy's best minds and treat them as interesting challenges." This was becoming clear in the education reports from the colonies. Human children who grew up on worlds with crushing gravity developed incredible physical strength. Those raised in high radiation learned to process information at speeds that seemed superhuman. Kids from the rogue planets could perform mathematical calculations in their heads that required supercomputers for other species. The galaxy had intended Exile to weaken humanity by cutting them off from civilized support. Instead, it had freed humans to develop abilities that would have been impossible in the safe, controlled environments of the core worlds. Admiral Jackson reviewed the latest intelligence reports from Earth's hidden monitoring stations. The galactic species were finally starting to ask questions about the strange energy readings and radio signals coming from the uninhabitable regions. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "the Kathrani have sent 3 scout ships toward the outer rim. The Zelthani are asking questions about the missing trade vessels near rogue planet systems. Some of the younger species are starting to wonder if humanity might still be alive out there." Jackson nodded grimly. "How long before they put together a real investigation?" "Maybe 2 years, sir. 3 at most. Eventually they're going to send a proper expedition to check on what happened to us." "Good," Jackson replied, surprising his officer. "By then, we'll be ready to show them exactly what happened to humanity. I don't think they're going to like the answer." In the deep laboratories of Nemesis, Dr. Okafor made his most important discovery yet. The zero-point energy systems weren't just providing unlimited power. They were revealing fundamental secrets about the nature of space and time itself. Humans were learning to manipulate the basic forces that held the universe together. Computer, begin recording. Research log Dr. James Okafor, day 1847 of Exile. He looked at his latest experimental results with wonder. "Today we achieved stable manipulation of local space-time using zero-point field fluctuations. The implications are extraordinary." He paused, thinking about what this meant for the future. The galaxy exiled us because they were afraid we might become too powerful for them to control. They were right to be afraid. They just didn't understand that by setting us free, they guaranteed we would become exactly what they feared most: human beings with no limits on what we could achieve. The first sign of trouble came when a Zelthani trade convoy failed to report in from the Outer Rim territories. 3 ships had been carrying luxury goods to the border colonies when they simply vanished. The Galactic Council assumed it was pirates or equipment failure. They were wrong. Admiral Sarah Chen, former Earth ambassador and now commander of humanity's outer fleet, watched the Zelthani vessels approach through her ship's sensors. The alien convoy was moving slowly and carefully through the radiation field surrounding the Kepler system, their shields glowing brightly as they tried to protect their crews from the deadly energy. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "the lead ship is hailing us. They're demanding to know who we are and what we're doing in this forbidden zone." Sarah smiled grimly. 7 years had passed since the galaxy voted to exile Earth. 7 years of building, growing, and becoming something the aliens couldn't imagine. Now they were finally coming to check on what happened to the humans they thought they had left to die. "Open a channel," Sarah ordered. "Let's reintroduce ourselves to our old friends." Her ship, the Defiance, was nothing like the vessels humanity had shown to the galaxy before their exile. Where human ships had once been small and simple, the Defiance was massive and intimidating. Its hull was scarred and blackened from operating in radiation storms that would cook normal spacecraft. Strange energy patterns flowed across its armor like living light. The Zelthani commander appeared on Sarah's main screen. His 4 eyes widened in shock as he recognized her face. "Ambassador Chen? But you're supposed to be dead. The humans were exiled to uninhabitable worlds. How are you alive? How are you here?" "I'm Admiral Chen now," Sarah replied calmly. "As for how I'm here, this is my home system. You're the one who's trespassing in human space." The Zelthani commander's tentacles writhed in confusion. "Human space? This is the Kepler system. The radiation levels here would kill any living being in minutes." "Any living being except humans," Sarah corrected. "We've been living here quite comfortably for 7 years. Would you like a tour of our cities?" Before the alien could respond, Sarah activated her ship's external cameras. The screens filled with images that made the Zelthani crew gasp in shock. Massive cities stretched across the surface of Kepler 442b, their towers reaching high into the radioactive atmosphere. Millions of lights twinkled in the deadly environment, showing a thriving civilization that shouldn't exist. "Impossible," the commander whispered. "Nothing can live in that much radiation." "You keep using that word," Sarah said. "I don't think it means what you think it means." The conversation was interrupted when more human ships emerged from the radiation storms around them. The Zelthani convoy found itself surrounded by vessels that looked like they had been forged in the fires of dying stars. Each ship moved with perfect precision despite operating in conditions that would disable alien technology. "Admiral Chen," the Zelthani commander said, his voice shaking, "we came here to investigate strange energy readings. The Galactic Council wants to know what's causing the disturbances in this region." "The disturbances are us," Sarah replied. "We're the energy readings your sensors are detecting. Human civilization doesn't look the same as what you're used to in the core worlds." She gestured to her crew, humans who had been born and raised in the extreme conditions of the outer colonies. They moved with enhanced reflexes and showed no signs of stress from the radiation that was slowly cooking the alien ship's electronics. 7 years ago, you voted to exile us because you said we were too dangerous for civilized space. You were afraid of what we might become if we were allowed to grow without restrictions." Sarah's smile was not friendly. "Congratulations. You created exactly the outcome you feared most." The Zelthani ships were starting to show signs of radiation damage. Their shields were failing, and their computers were reporting system errors as the deadly energy cooked their circuits. The human ships, meanwhile, seemed to be growing stronger, their hulls actually absorbing power from the same radiation that was killing the alien vessels. "Admiral," the Zelthani commander pleaded, Our ships can't survive much longer in these conditions. Please, we need to leave immediately. Of course, Sarah said graciously. But first, you're going to take a message back to the Galactic Council. She activated a recording system and looked directly into the camera. To the members of the Galactic Council, this is Admiral Sarah Chen, representing the Human Colonial Federation. 7 years ago, you voted to exile Earth from galactic civilization. You assumed this would make us weaker and less dangerous. You were wrong on both counts. The recording showed images from across human space, cities thriving in deadly radiation, industrial complexes powered by the heat of dying stars, research stations floating in the cold void between galaxies where no other species could survive. We have not spent these years begging for your forgiveness or trying to prove we deserve readmission to your civilization. Instead, we have built our own civilization, one that exists in places you consider impossible, powered by forces you don't understand, populated by humans who have evolved beyond your ability to control. Sarah paused, letting the implication sink in. You exiled us because you were afraid of what we might do to your perfect, safe society. Now you should be afraid of what we've become while you weren't watching. We are no longer the same species. You voted to exile. We are something new, something stronger, and something that doesn't need your permission to exist. The recording ended, and Sarah looked back at the increasingly desperate Zelthani commander. Take that message to the council, she ordered. Tell them that humanity sends its thanks. Your vote to exile us was the greatest gift you could have given. It freed us to become everything we were meant to be. The alien ships fled as quickly as their failing systems could carry them, racing to escape the radiation that was slowly killing them. Behind them, the human fleet watched with amusement as their former oppressors ran away from the conditions that humanity now called home. Within days, Sarah's message was being broadcast across the galaxy. The reaction was exactly what she had expected. Panic, confusion, and desperate meetings as the various species tried to understand what humanity had become. The younger species asked difficult questions. If humans could survive in impossible conditions, what did that mean for the galaxy's understanding of what was possible? If exile had made them stronger instead of weaker, had the Council created a threat far worse than anything they had tried to prevent? The older species insisted that the humans were bluffing. No one could really live in those conditions, they said. The radiation readings must be fake. The cities must be holographic illusions designed to frighten the galaxy into submission. But more scout ships went missing as they tried to investigate human space. Trade vessels reported strange encounters with ships that appeared out of nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. The energy readings from the uninhabitable regions grew stronger every month. On Earth, President Martinez received reports of the alien panic with satisfaction. The galaxy had finally realized that humanity was still alive, still growing, and now stronger than ever. Admiral Jackson, he said to his military commander, how long before they try to do something about us? Not long, sir. The Council is already talking about investigating the human situation and determining the extent of the threat. They're going to send a fleet to check on us within the year. Martinez nodded. Good. By then we'll be ready to show them exactly what 7 years of freedom has done for humanity. I don't think they're going to like the lesson. In her command center on the Defiance, Sarah Chen looked out at the thriving human colonies that stretched across dozens of impossible worlds. The galaxy had tried to destroy humanity by cutting them off from civilization. Instead, they had freed humanity to build a civilization beyond anything the galaxy could imagine. The aliens were finally starting to understand their mistake. But it was far too late to do anything about it. Humanity was no longer asking for permission to exist. They were simply existing, thriving, and growing stronger with each passing day. The galaxy had voted to exile Earth. Now they would learn what Earth had voted to become while they weren't watching. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any meeting in their 1,000-year history. Representatives from 847 species packed the Great Chamber, their voices creating a chaos of fear, anger, and confusion. Above them, the massive screens showed the reports that had been flooding in for months. Energy readings from dead systems, impossible cities on uninhabitable worlds, and ships that moved through space in ways that defied known physics. The Zeltani, delegate who had led the vote to exile humanity 7 years earlier, stood at the central podium, his tentacles shaking as he addressed the assembly. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," he began, "we face a crisis that threatens everything we have built. The humans we thought we had contained have not only survived, but have become something we never anticipated." Murmurs of fear rippled through the chamber. The crystal beings of Vorthak sang nervous harmonies while the bird-like Kathrani ruffled their feathers in distress. Even the massive, slow-thinking Goranti shifted uneasily in their environmental suits. "How many colonies do they have now?" asked the representative from the Tauri Federation. "Our best estimates suggest over 200 worlds," the Zeltani replied grimly. "All of them in regions we considered uninhabitable. High radiation zones, rogue planets, systems with unstable stars, places where our ships can't even survive long enough to gather proper intelligence." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. 200 worlds was more than most species controlled in the comfortable core regions. The idea that humans had built such an empire in places considered worthless was terrifying. "What do they want from us?" called out the Andretti ambassador. "Are they planning to invade core space? Are they seeking revenge for the Exile?" Before anyone could answer, the chamber's communication systems activated without authorization. Every screen in the room displayed the same image: Admiral Sarah Chen, standing on the bridge of a ship that looked like it had been built in the heart of a star. "Honorable delegates of the Galactic Council," Sarah said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's audio systems, "I understand you've been discussing the human problem in emergency session. Since you're talking about us, I thought we should join the conversation." Panic spread through the chamber. The aliens' most secure facility had been penetrated as easily as if Sarah was standing right there with them. Their best security systems hadn't even detected the intrusion. "How did you get this signal through our defenses?" the Zeltani delegate demanded. Sarah smiled. "You built your defenses to protect against technology, you understand. We've moved beyond that. When you're forced to live in places where normal physics don't apply, you learn to use physics that other species haven't discovered yet." She gestured behind her, and the view expanded to show a vast space station floating in what looked like empty void. But as the aliens watched in horror, they realized it wasn't empty space at all. It was the inside of a black hole's event horizon, where no known technology could survive. "This is Research Station Hawking," Sarah explained casually. "We're currently orbiting the singularity at the center of the Cygnus system. The gravitational forces here let us access energy states that don't exist anywhere else in the universe. Very useful for our experiments in space-time manipulation." The chamber fell completely silent. Operating inside a black hole was beyond impossible. It was a violation of everything the galaxy thought they knew about reality. "What do you want from us?" the Zeltani delegate finally whispered. Sarah's expression grew serious. "Nothing. That's what you never understood about humans. We don't want to conquer your safe, comfortable worlds. We don't want to force you to live by our rules. We never did." She paused, letting that sink in. 7 years ago, you exiled us because you thought we were too dangerous to exist alongside your civilization. You were right about the danger, but wrong about the solution. You can't exile a force of nature. You can only give it room to grow. New images appeared on the screens. Human children playing in conditions that would kill adult aliens instantly. Human scientists working with energies that shouldn't exist. Human artists creating beauty from chaos and destruction. "We've discovered something during our exile," Sarah continued. "Your galaxy is dying." The delegates looked at each other in confusion. The core worlds were safe and prosperous. Technology advanced at a steady, predictable pace. What did she mean, dying? "Entropy," Sarah explained. "The universe is running down, growing cold, and your civilization is speeding up the process. You've built a perfect, stable society that's slowly strangling itself. Your birth rates are falling, your innovation has stagnated, and your species are evolving into comfortable mediocrity." Dr. James Okafor appeared beside Sarah on the screen. Behind him, impossible machines hummed with the power of creation itself. "But humans have solved entropy," he announced calmly. Living in impossible conditions taught us to reverse the fundamental decay of matter and energy. We can restart dead stars, restore dead worlds, and even reverse the aging of entire galaxies. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions, demands, and accusations. The idea that humans could manipulate the basic forces of reality was too incredible and too terrifying to accept. Sarah raised her hand for silence. We're not telling you this to frighten you or to demand your submission. We're telling you because we're offering you a choice. The chamber gradually quieted, though the tension remained electric. Option 1, Sarah said, is to continue exactly as you are. Keep your perfect, safe civilization in the comfortable core worlds. We'll stay in the regions you consider uninhabitable, and we'll never bother you again. In a few thousand years, when your stars start dying and your worlds begin to freeze, you can face extinction with the satisfaction of knowing you maintained civilized standards to the end. The screens showed images of stellar death, stars collapsing, worlds freezing, entire systems going dark. It was the inevitable future of any galaxy where intelligent species chose safety over growth. Option 2, Sarah continued, is to join us in the places you've never dared to go. We'll teach you to survive what you think is unsurvivable, to thrive where you think life is impossible. We'll show you how to reverse entropy, how to restore youth to dying stars, how to make the universe itself young again. The images changed, to show human colonies bringing life to dead worlds, human technology rekindling exhausted stars, human children born in the heart of cosmic phenomena that defied description. But understand, Sarah's voice grew hard. If you choose the second option, you'll have to give up your comfortable limitations. You'll have to become something more than what you are. You'll have to stop being safe and start being alive. The Zelthani delegate found his voice. And if we choose neither option, if we decide that humanity itself is the threat that must be eliminated? Sarah's smile was not pleasant. Then you'll discover exactly how dangerous we've become while you weren't watching. 7 years ago, you exiled us because you were afraid of our potential. If you force us to show you what we've done with that potential, I promise you won't like the demonstration. The screens filled with images of human warships emerging from stellar coronas, space stations that existed partially outside normal dimensions, weapons that could manipulate gravity itself. It was technology beyond the galaxy's ability to understand, much less counter. But I don't think it will come to that, Sarah added, her tone becoming gentle again. Because deep down, every intelligent species wants the same thing: to grow, to explore, to become more than they were. You've just forgotten what that feels like. The communication ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. For several minutes, no one spoke. Finally, the Kithrani representative stood up. I motion to vote, she said quietly. All in favor of opening negotiations with the Human Colonial Federation? The vote was closer than anyone expected. 423 in favor, 399 against, 67 abstentions. But it was enough. As the session ended and the delegates filed out to report to their home governments, many of them were already wondering what it would be like to live among the stars that humanity called home. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was thinking about growing instead of just surviving. In her command center aboard the Defiance, Sarah Chen watched the vote results with satisfaction. The galaxy had finally learned the lesson that humanity had been trying to teach them from the beginning. Exile wasn't punishment if you used it to become everything you were meant to be, and humanity had become something wonderful. Admiral, her communications officer, reported, "We're getting requests for embassy exchanges from over 100 species. They want to know more about our colonies, our technology, our way of life." Sarah nodded. "Prepare the welcome packets. It looks like the galaxy is finally ready to learn what impossible really means." The exile was over. The real adventure was just beginning.
The blue light of the holographic display cast shadows across Ambassador Daniel Wright's tired face. He straightened his gray suit and ran a hand through his white hair. 30 years of making peace with aliens had taught him patience. Today, he would need every bit of that patience. The meeting room in the Earth Diplomatic Center was designed to make all species feel welcome. The temperature, gravity, and air mix could change to suit any visitor. Today it was set for the Svalorn. "They're here," said Maria, Daniel's young assistant. Her voice was tight with worry. Daniel nodded. "Show them in." The doors slid open. 3 tall figures entered. Their bodies were covered in dark purple scales. They had 4 arms and walked on 2 thick legs. Their faces had no nose, just breathing slits, and 3 yellow eyes arranged in a triangle. The tallest wore a metal collar that marked him as the leader. "Ambassador Krez," Daniel said with a small bow. "Welcome to Earth." Krez did not bow back. "Let us skip your human pleasantries. I am here because my emperor demands it, not because I see value in talking." Daniel gestured to the large round table. "Please, sit. We have prepared refreshments suitable for your biology." The Svalorn delegation sat. Their extra arms rested on weapons at their sides. Everyone in the room noticed this, but no one spoke of it. "The Galactic Concord has stood for peace for over 70 years, Daniel began. 12 species working together, trading, sharing knowledge. Earth would like to formally invite the Svalorn Empire to join us." Krez made a sound like stones grinding together. Daniel's translator indicated it was laughter. "Peace," Krez said, "is the lie weak species tell themselves as they wait to be devoured. The strong do not ask for permission to take what they want." Daniel's face remained calm, but Maria saw his hands tighten under the table. "We're offering generous trade agreements," Daniel continued. "Medical technology, clean energy systems." "We take what we need," interrupted Krez. "Your colonies at the edge of your territory have resources. We will have them." Daniel tapped a control on the table. A video appeared in the air between them. It showed Svalorn ships firing on a human settlement. Buildings burned. People ran screaming. "This was New Montana Colony 3 weeks ago," Daniel said. 4,000 civilians died. Krez turned to one of his assistants and spoke in the harsh Svalorn language. The assistant trembled. Without warning, Krez pulled out a blade and drove it into his assistant's throat. Green blood sprayed across the table. Maria gasped. Security officers moved forward, but Daniel held up his hand to stop them. Krez wiped his blade clean. "He failed to destroy all evidence of our visit. Weakness must be punished." The dead Svalorn was dragged away by the 3rd member of their delegation. No one spoke for a long moment. "This meeting is being broadcast throughout human space," Daniel said finally. "Billions are watching you right now." "Good," said Krez, standing up. "Then billions will hear my message. The Svalorn Empire claims all human colonies beyond your home system. Abandon them, or we will take them and kill everyone we find. You have 30 Earth days to begin evacuations." "We cannot do that," Daniel said, standing to face the alien. "Then your species will learn the difference between those who speak of peace and those born for war." Krez turned to leave, then stopped. "Your diplomacy is the pathetic bleating of prey. Soon, you will understand your true place in the galaxy." The Svalorn delegation left. The doors closed behind them. Maria looked at Daniel, her face pale. "What do we do now?" Daniel stared at the green blood still pooled on the conference table. For the first time in his long career, he had no peaceful solution to offer. "We prepare," he said softly. "For 3 generations, humanity has pursued peace above all else. We built art instead of weapons. We explored instead of conquered." He looked up at the camera still broadcasting to every human world and colony. "But now we face something that cannot be reasoned with." The room was silent, but across human space, people watched with growing anger and fear. The day humanity had dreaded had finally arrived. Lisa Collins hurried the children down the dark tunnel. The sounds of explosions above them made dust fall from the ceiling. Some of the younger kids were crying. "Stay together," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. 32 children from New Alaska's only school looked to her with scared eyes. "We're almost to the shelter." 3 weeks had passed since the Svalorn threat. Most people on New Alaska, the furthest human colony from Earth, had not believed war would come. They were wrong. The attack started at dawn. Svalorn ships appeared in the sky without warning. The colony's small defense force fought bravely, but they were overwhelmed within hours. Now Lisa and her students were among the few still alive. They reached the underground emergency shelter. It was built to protect against storms, not alien attacks. Lisa sealed the heavy door behind them. "Miss Collins, I'm scared," said Billy, a 6-year-old boy holding his stuffed bear tightly. "Me too," Lisa admitted. "But we're safe down here. The grown-ups will come for us soon." She didn't believe her own words. Through the small window in the shelter door, she had seen the Svalorn troops. Tall purple aliens moving through the streets, shooting anyone they found. The shelter had emergency supplies and a communication system. Lisa turned it on, hoping to call for help. To her surprise, it still worked. "This is Lisa Collins at New Alaska Colony School Shelter. We have 32 children here. Is anyone receiving this?" Static answered her. She tried again and again. On her 7th try, a voice responded. "Ms. Collins, this is Captain Frank Miller, United Earth Defense. We're receiving you. What's your situation?" Lisa felt tears of relief. "We're hiding underground. The colony is under attack. The Svalorn are everywhere." "Stay hidden," Captain Miller said. "Help is on the way, but it will take at least 2 days to reach you. Can you hold out?" "We have food and water for a week," Lisa said, "but they're searching everywhere. I don't know if they'll find us." "Keep this channel open," Miller instructed. "And if you can, record what you see. Earth needs to know what's happening." Lisa understood. She set up the shelter's camera to broadcast through the window. It showed the burning buildings of what had been a peaceful colony just hours before. As night fell, Lisa saw something that made her blood freeze. The Svalorn were gathering human bodies in the town square. They cut them open, taking samples of organs and blood. They seemed to be studying human biology. "They're harvesting people," she whispered into the communicator. "Like we're just animals to them." The next morning, Svalorn search teams found the shelter. Lisa heard them trying to break down the door. She gathered the children in the back room. "Whatever happens," she told them, "be brave." The door began to give way. Lisa made sure the camera was still broadcasting. She wanted Earth to see what was about to happen. "This is Lisa Collins of New Alaska Colony. If anyone receives this, remember us. And don't let them do this to any other human world." The door burst open. 3 Svalorn soldiers entered, weapons raised. Lisa stood in front of her students. "They're just children," she said. "Please." The lead Svalorn tilted his head, studying her. "The young ones will provide valuable research data," he said in rough English. "Their tissues are more adaptable." Lisa lunged at him with a metal pike she had hidden behind her back. "Run," she screamed to the children. The broadcast from New Alaska cut off, but not before the entire scene was transmitted to every screen on Earth and its colonies. Within hours, the message spread. People watched in horror as the Svalorn attacked children and collected human remains. Public anger exploded like nothing seen before in human history. Polls showed 97% of humans now supported military action. An unprecedented unity swept through human space. Peace had been humanity's highest value for generations. Now something else took its place: survival. In an emergency session, the United Earth government met. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in over 100 years, Article 7 of the Constitution was invoked. In the event of existential threat, all resources of humanity shall be directed toward the preservation of our species by any means necessary. The Peacetime Limitations Act was suspended. All restrictions on military research and development were lifted. Humanity was going to war. Admiral Samantha Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the stars through the main view screen. 1 month had passed since the first Svalorn attack. 7 human colonies had fallen, but the enemy advance was slowing as human forces learned to fight back. "Admiral, we're ready to begin the mission briefing," said her second-in-command, Jack Wilson. Samantha nodded. Before the war, she had been a vocal supporter of diplomacy. Now she commanded the First Fleet, humanity's main fighting force. Life changed quickly when faced with extinction. In the briefing room, ship captains and squadron leaders gathered around a holographic display showing the Proxima Centauri system. This star system was home to an important space gate, allowing fast travel between human worlds. "The Svalorn have captured the Proxima Gate," Samantha explained. "We're going to take it back, but this time, we have something new." She pressed a button, and the image changed to show a sleek black ship unlike any other in the human fleet. "This is the UES Pioneer," she said. "It's equipped with our newest weapon. Dr. Jones will explain." Dr. Gregory Jones stepped forward. He was a thin man with thick glasses who looked uncomfortable in his new military uniform. Before the war, he had been researching clean energy. Now his work had a different purpose. "For years, my team studied how to manipulate gravity for peaceful uses," he explained. "We stopped certain experiments because they were too dangerous. Now, we've turned that research into a weapon." The hologram showed a simulation of the new ship firing at an enemy vessel. A beam of blue light shot out, and the target seemed to collapse in on itself. "We call it the gravity lance," Dr. Jones continued. "It creates a localized gravity, well similar to a neutron star. Anything caught in its effect is compressed to extreme density." The room was silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Human science, once limited by ethical concerns, was now being unleashed for war. "Will it work against Svalorn shields?" asked a captain from the back of the room. "In theory, yes," Dr. Jones said. "Their shields block energy and matter, but they can't block gravity itself." Samantha took control of the briefing again. "The Pioneer will target the main Svalorn cruiser. Once it's neutralized, our fleet will move in to secure the gate." Hours later, the human fleet emerged from light speed near Proxima Centauri. 3 massive Svalorn ships guarded the gate. They immediately began firing. On the bridge of the Pioneer, Captain Olivia Reed gave the order. "Charge the gravity lance. Target the central cruiser." The new weapon hummed to life. Power flowed from the ship's engines into the lance. The Svalorn vessels, sensing a new type of threat, concentrated their fire on the Pioneer. Its shields began to fail. "Weapon at full charge," reported the weapons officer. "Fire," Olivia ordered calmly. A beam of blue-white energy shot toward the largest Svalorn ship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself appeared to bend around the enemy vessel. The massive cruiser, nearly a mile long, began to shrink. In seconds, it collapsed into a sphere no larger than a beach ball, glowing with intense heat and radiation. The crew of the Pioneer watched in stunned silence. The weapon had worked better than anyone had predicted. The remaining Svalorn ships immediately retreated, abandoning the gate. News of the victory spread quickly throughout human space and beyond. Video of the battle was shared with allied species in the Galactic Concord. The Aldebaran ambassador, watching the footage in his embassy on Earth, turned to his aide. "We always wondered what would happen if humans abandoned their self-imposed restrictions," he said quietly. "Now we know." Several previously neutral alien species contacted Earth within days, offering mutual defense agreements. The balance of power was shifting. Meanwhile, on Mars, in a secure underground facility, Dr. Jones and his team worked on an even more powerful version of the gravity weapon. The lab door displayed a new sign, Project Nemesis. Humanity had awakened its war machine, and the universe was beginning to tremble. Colonel Ryan Hayes led his team through the dark corridors of the captured Svalorn ship. Their boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. 3 months into the war, humans were no longer just defending. Now they were attacking. "Stay sharp," Ryan whispered to his team of 10 soldiers. "We need to reach the command center." Their mission was simple but dangerous: capture a Sphalorn command ship and get its data. Human forces needed to know more about their enemy. The Sphalorn ship was huge, with purple lights and air that smelled like metal. Ryan checked the small computer on his wrist. The map showed they were close to the command center. Around a corner, 3 Sphalorn guards appeared. Before they could react, Ryan's team fired their new pulse rifles. The guards fell without a sound. "Move quickly," Ryan ordered. "They'll know we're here soon." At the command center door, tech specialist Heather Brown placed a device on the lock. It bypassed the alien security in seconds. The door slid open, revealing 5 Sphalorn officers. The fight was brief. The Sphalorn were strong but surprised. Soon, Ryan's team controlled the room. "Download everything," Ryan told Heather. She connected her equipment to the Sphalorn computers and began copying data. "This is interesting," she said after a few minutes. According to their records, the Sphalorn classified humans as a Category 2 species before the war. "What does that mean?" Ryan asked. "It means they thought we would either surrender quickly or be easily destroyed," Heather explained. "But look at this." She pointed to newer records. "They've changed our classification twice already. We're now considered much more dangerous." Ryan smiled grimly. "Good. They should be afraid." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Karen Miller sat at her desk, surrounded by screens showing Sphalorn language and code. For weeks, she had been trying to break into their communication system. Today, she finally succeeded. "I've got it," she said to her supervisor. "I can read their tactical network. Better yet, I can send messages that look like they come from Sphalorn commanders." Her discovery changed the war. In the next battle, near Alpha Centauri, Karen sent false orders to a group of Sphalorn ships. Confused, they fired on each other. 3 large Sphalorn vessels were destroyed without humans firing a single shot. Meanwhile, on the colony world New Washington, engineer Alan Foster looked at the mining equipment in his workshop. When the war started, he had been angry that he couldn't fight. He was too old for the military, but looking at the mining lasers gave him an idea. "These can be modified," he told his workers. "If we change the focus system, they become defensive weapons." Alan created designs for turning ordinary mining and farming equipment into defense systems. He shared these plans freely with all colonies. Soon, settlements that had been easy targets became fortresses. When Sphalorn forces attacked the small colony on New Georgia, they were surprised to find farmers with powerful weapons waiting for them. On the Sphalorn homeworld, the Emperor received disturbing reports. His advisors knelt before his massive throne. "Mighty Emperor," said the head military advisor, "the humans adapt too quickly. Their weapons improve every week. Our tactics that worked last month fail now." "How is this possible?" demanded the Emperor. "They were peaceful weaklings." We were wrong," admitted the advisor. "They chose peace. They did not lack the ability to make war." The Emperor's 3 eyes narrowed in anger. "Enough delays. Prepare the world killer weapons. We will destroy their home planet. Without Earth, their resistance will collapse." The advisor bowed lower. "It will be done, Emperor." Neither the Emperor nor his advisors knew that Lieutenant Karen Miller was listening to their conversation through the communication network. Within minutes, Earth knew about the plan to destroy it. The war had reached a turning point. Humanity now faced a choice between survival and total destruction. President Laura Martinez stood at the window of her office, looking out at the Washington Monument. She had spent her entire political career working for peace. Now she had to decide whether to use the most terrible weapon ever created by human hands. "Madam President, they're ready for you," said her aide. Laura nodded and walked to the Situation Room. Around a large table sat her top military, scientific, and ethical advisors. Their faces were grim. General William Porter stood as she entered. "Madam President, we've confirmed the Sphalorn are preparing planet-killer weapons to use against Earth. Our estimates give us less than 3 days before they launch." What are our options? Laura asked, taking her seat. We have only one realistic choice, General Porter said. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing a small, unassuming device. This is the quantum disruption device. Dr. Eric Johnson can explain how it works. A young scientist with nervous eyes stood up. Madam President, this weapon destabilizes matter at the subatomic level. Once triggered, it creates a chain reaction that spreads throughout an entire star system. And what happens to the people in that system? Laura asked quietly. Everything is converted to harmless radiation, Dr. Johnson replied. There would be no pain. One moment they exist, the next they don't. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what they were discussing. A weapon that could wipe out billions of lives in an instant. Dr. Parker, you led this project. What's your recommendation? Laura asked, turning to an older woman at the end of the table. Dr. Susan Parker looked down at her hands. I cannot recommend its use, Madam President. This weapon goes beyond anything we've ever considered acceptable. That's why I've submitted my resignation. Laura was not surprised. Susan Parker had been a voice for ethical science for decades. I understand your position, Doctor. Thank you for your honesty. The discussion continued for hours. Military leaders argued for using the weapon against the Svalorn homeworld immediately. Scientists debated the long-term effects. Ethical advisors warned about crossing moral lines that could never be uncrossed. As the meeting ended, Laura asked everyone to leave except her oldest advisor, Ben Harris. He had served 4 presidents before her. Ben, what would you do? She asked when they were alone. The old man sighed. In my life, I've seen humanity work so hard for peace. We gave up weapons, power, even territory to avoid conflict. Now we face an enemy that sees that as weakness. He looked her in the eyes. Sometimes the most peaceful act is to stop those who would destroy peace forever. Laura spent the next 24 hours alone, reading reports and thinking. When she finally called her team back, her decision was made. We will use the weapon, she said, but not against the Svalorn homeworld. Not yet. First, we will demonstrate its power on an uninhabited star system along their border. We will invite observers from all galactic Concord species to witness it. She paused. And we will offer the Svalorn one last chance for peace. And if they refuse? Asked General Porter. Then we do what we must to survive, Laura replied. We sought peace until peace was no longer an option. Let history judge us not for the power we unleash, but for the countless lives, human and alien, that we sought to preserve. Dr. Johnson stepped forward. If we're going to do this, I want to add a safety measure. The device will require dual authorization. Both military and civilian leadership must agree to activate it. No single authority should have this power alone. Laura nodded. Make it so. The weapon was prepared and loaded onto an unmanned ship. The crew who worked on it held a solemn ceremony before launch. Many wore black armbands to acknowledge the weight of what they were doing. As the ship left Earth orbit, Laura made a brief announcement to humanity. Today we cross a threshold, not because we wish to, but because we must. May we never forget the value of the peace we once knew. The observation ship hung in space at a safe distance. Inside, representatives from all 12 species of the galactic Concord gathered to watch. Some came out of fear, others from curiosity. All knew that after today, the galaxy would never be the same. Ambassador Nancy Wilson welcomed the alien delegates. She was calm despite the weight of the moment. Thank you for coming, she said. Earth wants witnesses to what happens next. Not because we are proud of this weapon, but because everyone should understand what is at stake. A tall, blue-skinned Aldebaran asked, "Is this truly necessary? Could more talks with the Svalorn resolve this conflict?" "We tried talks," Nancy replied. "They responded by attacking our colonies and planning to destroy our homeworld. This demonstration is our last attempt to avoid using this weapon against populated worlds." The ship's captain announced over the speaker, "The target system is now visible on the main screen." The weapon carrier has arrived and is ready. Everyone looked at the screen. It showed a normal star system. A yellow sun with 7 planets. No one lived there. The planets were mostly gas giants with a few rocky worlds. The system had been chosen because it was far from any shipping lanes and had no strategic value. The Svalorn have been invited to observe this demonstration as well, Nancy said. They have not responded. She pressed a button, opening a communication channel. This is Ambassador Nancy Wilson of Earth. The demonstration will begin in 5 minutes. This is your final opportunity to open peace talks. Only silence answered her. Nancy nodded to the captain. Proceed. On the screen, a small human ship approached the star system. It released a device no bigger than a car and then quickly retreated to a safe distance. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then light bloomed at the center of the system. The star itself seemed to pulse, growing brighter and brighter until it became painful to look at. The observation ship's computers automatically dimmed the screen. The star expanded, becoming a brilliant blue-white sphere. It reminded some of the ancient descriptions of quasars. The energy released was beyond anything the witnesses had seen before. Then, just as suddenly, the light began to fade. Where the star and its planets had been, there was now only a spreading cloud of radiation and elementary particles. The entire star system had been converted to energy in minutes. The aliens on the observation ship were silent. Many had recording devices running, but no one spoke. The enormity of what they had just witnessed left them without words. Finally, a vegan representative broke the silence. Your species developed this. The same humans who helped us cure the Red Plague, who shared art and music with the galaxy. We did not want this power, Nancy said softly. We developed it because we were left no choice. Within an hour, sensors detected multiple Svalorn ships jumping away from human space. 3 aggressive species that had been watching the human-Svalorn war with interest suddenly announced their recognition of human territory and withdrew their scout ships. On the Svalorn homeworld, the Emperor watched the recording of the demonstration with his 3 eyes wide. He had not believed the warnings. Now he saw the truth. Humans had the power to unmake creation itself. Send a diplomatic envoy to Earth immediately, he ordered. Offer whatever terms they want. His advisors looked shocked. But Emperor, we have never surrendered to. This is not surrender, the Emperor hissed. This is survival. These humans, they were peaceful not from weakness but from choice. And now they have chosen something else. Back on the observation ship, Ambassador Nancy addressed all the delegates again. Humanity did not desire this power. We developed it because you left us no alternative. We will not use it if you do not force our hand. The choice for peace has always been and remains available. As she spoke, a message arrived from Earth. The Svalorn had requested talks. For the first time in recorded history, they were asking for terms rather than demanding them. A fragile hope for peace began to grow. But everyone who had witnessed the demonstration knew the galaxy had entered a new age. Humanity had shown what it was capable of when pushed too far. The universe had indeed trembled. 6 months after the demonstration of the quantum disruption device, a new peace had settled across the galaxy. The Svalorn Empire, once the greatest threat to humanity, had accepted major restrictions on its military capacity. They also provided resources to rebuild the human colonies they had destroyed. In the rebuilt Galactic Concord headquarters on Earth, human diplomats now sat at the center table rather than the edges. Other species looked to humanity with a mixture of respect and caution. The Svalorn had classified humans as a Category 5 species in their threat rankings, the highest possible level. But the greatest changes were happening within human society itself. The psychological barrier broken by creating such a powerful weapon had led to advances in many fields. Technologies once considered too dangerous were now being studied and improved. In his laboratory in Geneva, Dr. Peter Mitchell worked with scientists from 7 different alien species. On his computer screen, complex equations scrolled past. The problem isn't the technology itself, Peter explained to his colleagues. It's making sure we use it wisely. They were developing what Peter called ethical advancement protocols, guidelines for safely exploring powerful new technologies. His work was becoming the standard throughout the Concord. Humans have a unique perspective, said Kren, the blue-skinned Aldebaran scientist. You lived in peace by choice, then unleashed terrible power when needed, but now seek balance. No other species has traveled that full path. Peter nodded. We don't want to be defined by our weapons. We want to be known for what we create, not what we can destroy. Not all humans felt the same way about the new direction of humanity. In a small park in what had once been New Alaska Colony, Olivia Clark stood before a crowd. She had lost her husband and 2 children when the Svalorn attacked. Yes, we had to defend ourselves, she told the gathered people. But now that peace has returned, we must remember who we were. We were explorers and artists before we became warriors. Her movement, called Remember Peace, had millions of followers throughout human space. They didn't oppose maintaining defensive capabilities, but they worked to ensure humanity's martial strength remained a reluctant last resort. The Svalorn attacked us because they thought peace meant weakness, Olivia continued. We proved them wrong. But now we must prove that strength doesn't mean abandoning our values. Meanwhile, on a Svalorn colony world, something unexpected was happening. Young Svalorn were quietly rejecting their species' traditional militarism. Some had even requested permission to visit Earth and study human history. Kraz, a young Svalorn scholar, sat in a classroom at Oxford University. He was the first of his kind to attend a human school. What fascinates me, he told his human professor, is how your species maintained peaceful ideals while developing such military capability. My people always believe that power must be used or it has no purpose. That's the difference, replied the professor. We see power as a responsibility, not a privilege. The stronger you are, the more carefully you must behave. In orbit above Mars, construction had begun on humanity's new defense fleet. The ships were more powerful than anything humans had built before, but each one bore the same motto on its hull: that others may live in peace. Admiral Samantha Rodriguez, now head of Earth's combined defense forces, inspected the new flagship. A reporter asked her if humanity had changed forever. We have changed, she admitted, but the core of who we are remains the same. We still value life. We still seek knowledge. We still create art and music. We just now understand that sometimes you must be strong to protect those things. As she spoke, telescopes throughout human space detected signals from beyond the galactic rim. Evidence of civilizations far more advanced than any in the Concord. Humanity prepared to meet these new species not from weakness, but from a position of respected strength. 20 years had passed since the day humans abandoned peace. Earth's fleets now patrolled troubled regions of the galaxy, keeping order where once there had been chaos. The doctrine of defensive intervention, developed by Admiral Jeff Baker, had become standard practice throughout the Galactic Concord. On the bridge of the UES Guardian, Captain Steve Lewis watched as his ship positioned itself between 2 alien fleets ready to attack each other. Open a channel to both sides, he ordered. When the communication screen lit up, Steve addressed the alien commanders. This is Captain Lewis of Earth. Your dispute does not need to end in bloodshed. The Concord offers to mediate. One of the alien commanders, a reptilian Drax, hissed in anger. This is not your concern, human. When civilians are threatened, it becomes our concern, Steve replied calmly. You both know what will happen if you force us to intervene. The alien commanders looked at each other through their screens. No one had fought against human ships in 2 decades. No one wanted to be the first to try again. We will accept mediation, the Drax commander said finally. Later, as the Guardian continued its patrol, Steve received a message from Earth. His ship was being called home for a special ceremony. On Earth, in the rebuilt city of Geneva, a large crowd gathered for the unveiling of a memorial. It had been exactly 20 years since the demonstration of the quantum disruption device. The memorial stood in a quiet park, a simple stone monument surrounded by trees from a dozen worlds. President Carlos Diaz addressed the crowd. Today we remember a turning point in our history. 20 years ago, humanity showed the galaxy our capacity for terrible power. Since then, we have worked to show our capacity for justice and mercy. The memorial was unveiled. On it was a simple inscription. We abandoned peace only to preserve it. May we never forget the price of either. Among the crowd stood an elderly man with white hair. Ambassador Daniel Wright, now retired, watched with mixed feelings. He had been the last to speak with the Svalorn before the war. Now, in his final years, he saw a galaxy at peace. A young Svalorn approached him, bowing in respect. Ambassador Wright, I am Klaxa, third-generation diplomatic student. May I speak with you? Daniel nodded, studying the young alien. Unlike the Svalorn he had met 20 years ago, this one's posture was open, not threatening. My people have changed because of yours, Klaxa said. In our schools, we now study how humans held power but chose restraint. It has changed our understanding of strength. Daniel smiled sadly. We never wanted to teach that lesson through war. But it is a lesson my species needed to learn, Klaxa replied. Meanwhile, in the observatory at New Alaska, now rebuilt as a center for interspecies cooperation, astronomer Frank Russell studied unusual signals from beyond the galactic rim. For years, scientists had detected hints of civilizations far more advanced than any in the Concord. Now, the signals had become clearer. Frank rushed to share his findings with the international team. It's definitely artificial, he told them, pointing to the data. And they've noticed us too. These patterns show they're responding to our signals. The news spread quickly. Humanity and the Galactic Concord prepared for first contact with beings from beyond the Milky Way. Diplomatic teams trained, scientists studied the data, and yes, military planners made contingencies. But this time, humanity approached the unknown from a position of confidence, not fear. Back in Geneva, after the ceremony, a young diplomat named Claire Evans found Ambassador Wright sitting alone in the memorial garden. "Sir," she said, "I'm leaving tomorrow for the first contact mission. I was hoping for your advice." "What troubles you?" Daniel asked. "Should we present ourselves as peaceful or powerful?" Claire asked.